Thank you, Adam. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. And good morning, everybody. How are you? Great. Well, you know, we love the East Bay. Hopefully all of us are great East Bay residents. And it has been fantastic to see it grow over the last 40 years. You know, it's a cosmopolitan made up of urban centers, suburbs, great open space, farmland, this whole cosmo creation of our communities. And it was pretty cut and dry about 30 years ago. But something's happened in the last 30 years. We've had this melting pot and transformation that's not so cut and dry. Folks from the urban centers and the cities moving to the suburbs, folks from the suburbs moving back into the cities, right? We've talked about gentrification. And even in the Bay Area with our difficult housing situation and housing costs, we see this same pattern that's happening throughout the country. And then that, of course, I've got the domino effect out into the rural or open space or countryside, as you might call it. Because folks then that have finished that lifestyle are moving back into the cities and vice versa. Add that to the fact that, you know, the suburbs used to have this perception of this higher demographic, higher educated residents, a higher income, a better home product. That is a perception that is no longer here. Again, that is all contributing to this movement and this pattern that is creating this very messy look at not only the East Bay, but communities across the country. It is not cut and dried. I would think that change, that massaging, that difference would make for a more vibrant community. Wouldn't you? You've got a greater diversity in your neighborhoods. You've got different incomes. You've got families with different backgrounds. We heard Jessica talk about that inclusivity and the energy that comes with that inclusivity. And you would think that would translate to our communities and to our neighborhoods. Sadly, it doesn't. Antioch is a community that doesn't very well. How many of you have lived here in the Bay Area for the last 10, 15, 20 years? You've probably read all about Antioch in the news. Yep, you're raising your hands, right? What is your perception of Antioch in this microcosm called the East Bay, huh? Probably way down here at the bottom. Well, certainly the city of Antioch recognized that, and it's very exciting to be a part of watching that change and turn itself around. As Adam said, I am Nancy Kaiser. I currently serve as the Director of Parks and Recreation for the city of Antioch. I've been there for a little over 5 years. I'm an East County resident, but I've been in this region for nearly 25 years. I'm a Northern California native. I've been in the profession, we don't want to know how long I've been in the profession, but long enough to see this very interesting change in our communities. I get very excited about the challenge of turning our neighborhoods around. And I challenge you to repackage your thinking and understand that we are destined in recreation and parks to rebuild our neighborhoods so that they become something, once again, vibrant, energetic, beautiful places for people to be proud to live, to be engaged in their community, and to create that new community. As I mentioned, Antioch, years ago, was hit very hard by the Great Depression, recession, all of that. Antioch took it hard. Hit rock bottom similar to Vallejo and Stockton. Came within inches of being in that same situation. Gutted everything, including the recreation department. Gutted everything. Went from a city of about 600 employees down to a city right now of about just 300 employees. Antioch is 115,000 in population. Antioch has the single largest percentage of population under 18 per capita in Contra Costa County. We're the second largest city in Contra Costa County and always will be. You look at those demographic statistics and you think, wow, that is a complete cross in thinking, right? That demographic, those statistics. We have also a very high percentage of family households with just one wage earner. Because I'm going to tell you a secret, Antioch is also one of the most affordable communities in the Bay Area. So you have lifestyle ambitions of families coming to Antioch, and they get to Antioch. and everything we talked about in the changing of communities is what they see. So they get, the energy starts to wane. They might not have that connection of where they left. That starts to wear on you, and pretty soon you have this new image of the community where you live. Just about 2 years ago, our elected officials and our city leadership understood that we were the ones to be charged with transforming that. So we went on a mission, and the first mission was looking inwardly at how do we repackage ourselves and rebrand ourselves, not only to the outside community, but to our residents that live here. And that resulted in this right here, Antioch, California. Opportunity lives here. That is our new brand. That is our new logo. That's a real far cry from the very traditional looking feel that Antioch used to have. The logo, the image that you saw was that very traditional round circle, picture of the bridge, picture of the mountain, picture of the sun, the water, which, by the way, 90% of the people don't understand we have water as our northern border. I can tell you what kind of challenges we have with our residents, right? When they look at you and they go, river? There's a river in Antioch? Did you all know that? We have a river. It's our northern border. Somebody's honest and shaking their head, no. Yes, it's called the San Joaquin River. A lot of people cross over it every day coming through Contra Costa County. So these are the things we needed to change and set up with. And it's really exciting to be part of Opportunity Lives Here. And the Recreation Department was charged with unveiling that to the community. Other departments took charge with introducing that to the greater community. And it's been quite a journey this last year. Whoops, wrong button, sorry. Let's see. And it all started with taking a look at this compilation of words. Hopefully they look familiar to you. Adam briefly mentioned it this morning. He talked about the action plan. He referenced the vision plan that was the precursor to the action plan. And these are some of the benefit statements and the philosophies that started back in the late 90s with the whole look and transformation of our benefits-based services. Why we exist. We exist for our communities for lifelong learning. We exist in our communities to create health and wellness. We exist in our communities to be inclusive, to be diverse, to celebrate, to have fun. Those are all the reasons that we exist, and we've been conditioned and trained and taught for the last few years to infuse this into our philosophy and our programs and services. But I ask the question, what path are we leading ourselves down with this philosophy? Are we just staying in our silos and thinking that that program that we're providing for youth will provide them a safe place to be after school, keep them active and moving and fun and energized, and that contributes to a healthier lifestyle as they're growing up? All of those things that we talk about, that's wonderful, that's great, I love it. But the key question again I ask is, what path is that taking us towards? And I challenge you to go back to your communities, go back to your programs, go back to your staff, and think about this in a bigger picture of what is this doing for the broader community? What is this doing for the broader neighborhood? Not just for my program, not just for my silo, or just for the profession. Does that make sense to everybody? I'd like to tell you a story quickly. It's my favorite story of the last fall that demonstrates this. Antioch has a recreational preschool program. Many of our recreation and park departments offer some sort of a preschool or a youth program or preschool programs, and they're great programs. In Antioch, they're one of our few that is at capacity 100%. So we can say it's very successful. You better sign up before the first day of class or you're not getting in, month to month, all of those kinds of, statements I make towards elected officials about this great successful program. And we're, preschoolers, our families with young children at home, that percentage demographic I shared with you, the single, parent household working and staying at home, blah, 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 that's great. Guess what happened at the Halloween carnival we hosted? 2 families in the same preschool class for 2 months discovered that they lived 5 doors away from each other. They didn't discover that walking the neighborhood. They didn't discover that walking from door to door, introducing themselves. They didn't discover that at the grocery store. They made that discovery when their 2 children came to the Halloween carnival and did the whole, preschool greeting thing, and, mommy and daddy are introducing themselves. How awesome is that? We were responsible for connecting 2 families in a neighborhood. Does that instantly make that neighborhood better? I say it does. So this was a great beginning back in 1995. This is when it all got started, both at the national level and at the state level, and we've come a long way since then with the the CAP program and what we're doing here today. But I think that we can do more. I think we can do more than just improve our programs or defend our service in our communities. We can actually be in charge of creating better communities and revitalizing our neighborhoods. I do say it's our destiny. There isn't another department, there isn't another public service, and there are very few nonprofits that are doing this in our communities. We're all doing it together. That's what collaboration and partnership is all about. But we're the leaders in doing it. We're the experts in doing this. So let's transform that leadership, let's transform that expertise, and get out front and rebuild these neighborhoods. I think that when your neighborhood has that synergy, that neighborhood has that safety, when people know each other, when they feel comfortable with each other, the neighborhood improves. When the neighborhood improves, our community improves. And that domino just continues on and on and on. And I think it was Albert Einstein that said, when talking about leaders, it's the leader that takes the clutter and makes it simple, the discord and makes it harmonious, and the difficulty and turning it into opportunity. That's what we can do as leaders, and that's what we're doing in Antioch. But before we talk a little bit about what we're doing in Antioch, I want to tell you a little bit about how we got here. I want to talk about the messiness of our communities now and our neighborhoods and our families and our people and how we connect with one another and how we affiliate with each other as people. I think it goes all the way back to the land. That land is a story place. And this is interesting because Judy Atkinson is a professor down in Australia. Boy, land has a completely different meaning today for them down there, right? As they look forward towards rebuilding their community. How many of you here work with middle schoolers? Everybody, at one time or another, you've got middle schoolers? Well, just think today. Today, that middle schooler has a completely different relationship with the land today than not only their parents did, or their grandparents, or their great-grandparents. So if you've got a middle schooler today, what's their parent, maybe 35 to 42? Their grandparent, that'd be me, in their 60s probably. And then their great-grandparents, that fantastic generation, they're in their 80s. Think about it, just 4 generations, less than 100 years, we have completely different relationships with our land. That great-grandparent, when they were growing up, they didn't have cars. They walked everywhere. So their relationship with the land, their relationship with the people they met along the way, very different from the middle schooler today. Their relationship with food was different than the middle schooler today. They probably grew their own food. They didn't go to the grocery store and, get their milk. They made their milk. They grew their vegetables. Listen to this difference with the land. That middle schooler's great-grandparent relationship with the land was part of who they were. Their land was part of their neighborhood. Their land was part of the way they lived. Today's middle schooler, what's land? Do they walk to school? They are driven everywhere. Their parents were so organized and so siloed. They went to basketball practice and they went to gymnastics practice and then they had to go do homework. Everything was packaged nice and neat. They didn't roam free. That translates to today's family culture, community culture, and neighborhood culture. Land is the story. It shapes who we are. It shapes the way people connect to each other. It is a part of what we have. That is missing today, in my observation. And that's just 4 generations. So I challenge us as a profession, as an individual, and a neighbor. How are we going to turn that around? And I'm one of those old ones, and you can't say just put the cell phone down, just put the technology away, because that's not going to happen. 2-year-olds today know what swiping is. They know how to do that. So how do we incorporate it into the land to rebuild our connection to the land so that we are rebuilding our community connections in our neighborhoods? Now back to Antioch. We've been talking about this. We've been rebranding. We've been experimenting. We've done all this work with all these new opportunities. And I've been in a great position to enjoy learning what other communities are doing across the country. Whoa! We had a great chance to bring that to Antioch this summer. And we said, we're taking our services out to our neighborhoods. Back to that story of families meeting through our programs. Let's get our families meeting in their neighborhoods. Let's take everything to our neighborhoods. Let's get everybody out into the neighborhoods so that they're more comfortable again. They know that it's safe. They're meeting more people. Let's re-energize those neighborhoods. So we introduced mobile recreation, certainly something that communities are doing across the country, but this is brand new for Antioch. And to do that, you have to have a community center on wheels, right? How many of you here have community centers on wheels? Here in the East Bay, a few of us, East Bay Regional Park District created a mobile visitor center a few years ago and a mobile fish exhibit, again, to take their services out to their residents. So this is the bus. This is Rolling with Rec right here. Whoa. Oh, look. Uh-oh, I just really screwed that up, didn't I? Sorry. Just enlarge that back to slideshow. Well, easier said than done. Here we go. Good thing I only have like 5 slides. There we go. There it is. There's Rolling with Rec. Notice we've got the opportunity. Technology. Okay, I am like the perfect example. I do not do technology well at all. There's our opportunity. Not only does it live here, it plays here in Antioch. We got a bus. Okay, very creative because we bought it for $5 from Tri-Delta Transit. Turned the transit bus into a mobile recreation center. Rewrapped it, gutted the inside, put shelving, got all the equipment there, and it travels around the community. So we've done after-school opportunities in parks. We did family summer evenings in parks. We've done community outreach with our bus. And we are going to be continuing discussions with our elected officials and through the budget process to increase that opportunity. We also looked at how to balance that out with bringing people to other parks. You know, some communities have done music in the park, and it's been very successful. Movies in the park, very successful. For Antioch, that's a completely different experience. Again, going back to our challenges with the Great Recession. So we introduced some of those standard services in our community, very successful. So moving forward, we are going to begin creating a better balance of what we can get into the neighborhoods so that we are re-energizing and rebuilding those neighborhoods and bringing folks to other neighborhoods and to other community parks to meet people and to enjoy their community. So Rolling with Rec has been just so much fun. It's been in charge of camps, drop-in camps and recreation. Again, now we can take it to outreach with other nonprofits and other programs in the community. But let me share with you what's happening across the state and the country. You know, Prop 68, how many agencies in here submitted one of the Prop 68 competitive grant applications? So a couple of you did, Antioch did. And one of the requirements in the grant application is community outreach. Take that one step further. That community outreach requirement included a minimum of 3 community meetings at the park or site of the project you're proposing. So I'm not very trendy. I'm not like, having an hallelujah moment. I'm not really all that brilliant. I'm just watching the trends. If a state grant application process is requiring you to go out to the community to meet where they are, don't you think we should be doing it in our everyday opportunities. So the Chicago Park District, they offer over 2,000 summer programs. They discovered this about 7 years ago. You know, Chicago neighborhoods are very urban, so they get out into their parks and they get people into their parks, over 2,000. Whew, try planning that. The city of San Jose learned this a number of years ago. In creating their neighborhood services department, they have 19 neighborhoods that they collaborate and get out into the community. So our Antioch pop-up program, which is what we're calling it, we are getting out into the community. And those are just some examples of what we're doing. So again, I'm just going to wrap up by thanking you for having me today, but offering you up that challenge to get out there and rebuild your neighborhood, because you have the skill sets, you have the leadership, but you have the destiny and responsibility to reshape your communities and make them better for the next 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that. Always great to be able to hear what Antioch's doing. Do we have any questions for Nancy? No questions?
If not, during the intermission, I brought with me a couple of resources, and that is Peter Kagayami's books on For the Love of Cities and Love Where You Live. If you've not ever heard of Peter, you can look at these during the intermission. It's a great resource.
Great. Hey, way to get a bus for $5. Not bad. All right, we're going to do an intermission.